It's so funny. You're like, oh my god, my hobbies, I fly around, motorcycles, woodwork lathes, and I'm like, I'm gonna try archery.
Dude, archery's cool as fuck. Like I'm
It is
excited you're
cool
getting
as
into
fuck.
archery because
No,
I'm
I'm
about to
getting
get into it as
suggested.
well.
Okay, good. Let's get in. Let's
We're
get
gonna be
into
archers.
archery. Now
I'm
we've
gonna
all
be the
got
worst.
Can we
big
start an
muscles, we're all
archery
gonna be
podcast, like a companion piece? That's nothing. We all get one of those, like, those Robin Hood caps with a little feather in it.
Oh, yeah.
We're all like
we each pick a different kind of bow. We have to vehemently defend as the best kind of bow. Just the
I'm
same
an
argument.
addle man myself.
I don't even know what that is.
Wow, what are you, some techno guy? I throw stones.
The addle is this ancient mechanical device that allows you to like throw these tiny little spears.
Mhm.
It's got like one
I've
stick
seen
like
it on
hooks into the
Primitive.
back of another and you flick it. It's like what cavemen or like not cavemen exactly, a little further ahead than that, but not quite Bronze Age either, would use to like hunt larger game.
Now I know what it is. Primitive technology. The YouTube channels. I think I have.
Yeah.
He made one.
Well, I'm glad we should all get into archery because I'm hopefully I'll be able to go this weekend if nothing else comes up and just give it a go, try it out, figure out the draw length and the draw weight, and
they'll sort that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a like 5-minute thing. As far
Can
as
you just
draw
do
length.
that at Dick's Sports and ask the guy like
If they have an
try 'em
archery
on?
department, yeah.
Everywhere's saying to go somewhere that's like specific archery because the guy at Dick's doesn't know anything about the bow, or they're not as knowledgeable.
Do you
on
just
it, I guess.
pull what would happen if I went there, pulled a handful of bows, and decided on my own? Is that stupid?
Oh, well,
No,
like
I don't think so.
he's talking
It's
about
just
more
then
like
you-
dialing in like your draw length, which is akin to like figuring out how long your hockey stick needs to be to like fit your body and stuff.
Except more advanced than that. So like,
when you draw a bow back, like this hand has to come back to a very specific resting position. For me, I'm literally doing it, and the other hand is fully outstretched but slightly relaxed. And so the length between here and there is like 32 inches for me or something like that. 30, 31, 32. I don't remember what it is, but the bow has to be the string has to be of that length so that when you draw it back, you don't want to be like this, like holding your bow like this, so that you're not in the perfect body mechanics. And you don't want to be like this either, because this is very awkward. Now my shoulder, I can feel it in my rotator cuff. It's very uncomfortable. So you want to be in that sweet zone where you're in the correct form.
Yeah. So
now
I'm
understanding it.
Yeah, basically people online are like, you can go buy a bow like after doing a ton of research at Dick's, but they're gonna go, here's your bow box. What kind of string do you need? Okay. What kind of this? What kind of risers do you need? What kind of limbs do you need? Whereas if you go to the archery store, you can just be like, hey, I'd love to get into archery. I want to try shooting a recurve.
I love the smell of an archery store.
And they'll be like, where do you hold and they'll be like, what hand do you hold the riser with? And like, left hand. You're like, okay, stand like this. All right, grab this and pull it.
They'll make your arrows.
Yeah.
So
that's
the other thing. So all the arrows come at a very long length. And once they've determined your draw length, that's how long your arrows are going to be now. And so they take these either carbon fiber is the industry standard now. Don't get aluminum arrows. Like pay the extra $3 an arrow or whatever.
Peon. Were you
aluminum
thinking
arrows,
about aluminum arrows, Taylor?
Aluminum arrows, like you can take a carbon fiber arrow and bend it like this much, and it's all a-okay. Aluminum doesn't bend, and aluminum breaks, and aluminum like if you ever miss a shot, your carbon fiber arrow is probably okay if it skids off through the woods a little. Your aluminum arrow is ruined. But they cut them. They cut them to length, and then they have this process of like putting the insert in that the tips are going to screw into with this glue, and I can smell that glue sitting here. I have that memory of that glue. It's
what do you think you spend on day one? You buy an arrow, you get the thing sorted out, and you buy.
It's been years.
I said an arrow, maybe 20 arrows and a bow.
If you were going to get so if I were going. So he wants to get a recurve bow, which are quite a bit cheaper, I think. But if I were going to get a compound bow, I'd probably spend at least $1,000 on the bow, maybe a little bit more. And then I'd get a new release because mine's out of date. So those are probably like $30 to $60. Arrows, last time I bought arrows, it's been a long time, were like $80 a dozen.
They're expensive.
Does the archery store have a shooting range?
Yeah. Almost all of them.
This is what I want. I want to dip my toe. I want to spend $250. And I want a coach to hang out with me for, I don't know, 30 or 60 minutes, figure out those things that I would need to know. And I will figure out if I want to spend the next part.
Yeah,
you can rent the bow.
It's like, you don't
spend almost
it's like a
nothing.
gun store.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. The first time I ever shot a gun, I got a coach. I got a coach. He showed me how to load the magazine, showed me how to do all the things that you don't know how to do as a non-gun person. That's what my archery experience should be. I'm seeing.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. He's leaning toward the recurve thing. I highly recommend the compound bow thing. You have a deadly weapon in a compound bow. You have something that has a lot of technology built into it, all sorts of like space age like materials, whether it's carbon fiber or fiberglass or aluminum or titanium. Like they're neat pieces of advanced machinery.
I want to shoot both before I pick, but I aesthetically and just the look of it.
Hobby.
And like hobby wise, like I just
recreational activity.
Recurve bows, it's like that just looks cool.
Yeah, they're
Lord
cool.
Of the Ringsy.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
When you shoot a compound bow, the arrow goes so goddamn fast. You're like, oh, so this is just a rifle that shoots a little slower, and they're incredibly accurate. Like you've probably heard people talk about like, oh yeah, that rifle's more accurate than I am. Bows are more accurate than you are.
I feel like I should get a crossbow, and that way I can be as good as you guys because I'm using cheat codes.
You'd be surprised.
You can't go to archery ranges and shoot crossbows.
So with a crossbow, you're holding it up just like you would a rifle, and there's no stabilization there because you are holding it. There's something about when you've got a compound bow drawn, the push and pull that's going on offers a lot of stabilization. All of a it doesn't wiggle, it doesn't tremble really, as long as you're strong enough to hold it. And you sort of like you've got a peephole back here you're looking through that's very much like older rifle sights with the hole in the back and the dot in the front, and you've got a very pin prick dot that glows because of the way it's one of those
unobtainium.
Sometimes people use tritium in those, but it's like the day sights even like they draw light like fiber optically.
Oh, the optic ones,
yeah. And so like you have this excellent sight that you're able to really put where you want it, and the trigger is as good as any rifle trigger. You have this release mechanism that hooks onto the back of the string, and it's like a rifle's trigger. So you can be shockingly accurate with a compound bow, especially out to like medium distances, 20, 30, 40 yards, something like that. When you go beyond that, like a lot of people don't shoot much further than that.
I mean, like in my yard, I was like pacing out stuff today. For a recurve, I don't think I really want to be shooting any more than like 20 yards. And compound would probably be too powerful for my yard.
20 yards is where you kill most deer. 30 yards.
That's what they say to practice is 20 yards.
Yeah, I always practiced at 20 yards. But my bow was sighted from 20 to 45 yards. And,
how's that work? 20 to 45, like different points in the sight you look at?
So the sight, so it works both ways actually. Like some sites have different pins for different yardages, and so you just know. I would always write with a very minute marker, like 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards next to the pin. You can take a little piece of masking tape and put it over the thing and write on that. But my sight was adjustable, so it had this sort of thing that you slid up and down, and it had an indicator that went on to where that piece of tape was, and I'd slide it to that number, and it would move the front sight up and down, just like a rifle or something. So that would cause you to arc the bow to meet that angle.
Interesting. And you're just like guesstimating on how far away the deer
is. That's part of the challenge with 3D archery, where you go to those shoots where it's unknown distances, and like you'll be there with other archers. And like maybe you're like, hey, what do you think? What do you think that is? I don't know, 25, 27, something like that. Or maybe somebody like, I don't know what. I have no idea how far.
I'm not worried. I brought a gun.
Bang!
You're ruining everybody's fun.
No, but they, I don't know. Archery's fun, and it's incredibly fun if you're hunting with it. Target shooting in the backyard was always I used to shoot every day, like because you've got to practice a lot to like maintain that little skill. It's difficult to do, but hunting was always like the main thing. I never shot like targets in any sort of competitive fashion like my dad did.
I had someone who on Twitter reach out, and they told me they've been a archer for 12 years. Shout out Host, thank you. He said to use just to start a 50-pound recurve for me. He thinks would be a good kind of kickoff point.
Yeah, I agree. Like you'll have no problem drawing that.
I'm not. Yeah, it's fun to think about like learning a new and totally useless unless you're hunting skill. But I don't know. Like I imagine getting a lot of satisfaction being like, damn, like I get how to do it now. Like that was more accurate than it was a week ago. Just a fun little hobby to get into.
Some videos or a coach will help a lot because you need to know how to place your feet, and you need to know like proper draw technique, where your elbow needs to be, where your hand needs to be. Someone can look at you and be like, oh, you're too tense right here, or straighten your back, or relax, or you're bent over, or they'll look at your form and kind of help you out. That's often really helpful because you don't know the mechanics. Just like Conor McGregor throwing that baseball, you're not really sure what it should feel like to do it properly.
To tie into what Kyle's saying, like the expression I've used in a bunch of hobbies, if you want to get good, practice. If you want to get good fast, hire a coach.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference.
Practicing without a coach can just ingrain bad technique sometimes, So we got